you also elaborate on other workshops that you offer?
I would love to. For example, there's one that I absolutely love and I hold near and dear to my heart. It's called Exonerate Your Inner Child. And the reason it's named Exonerate, it's to exonerate someone means to forgive, to heal from guilt and shame. It's that exoneration. And Exon, the actual term or that word, it's that is actually the active component of DNA that is transcribed.
Oh, wow.
Because you have the exons and the introns on a genetic strand of DNA. And really the part that's transcribed is the exon. And so I just kind of put the two together and created that.
That's cool.
So the inner child is such an important element because when we're looking at nutrition, when we're looking at lifestyle and everything else, that is fantastic. It does give a full understanding into the individual, but to really go in deep, to make those changes, to truly respect epigenetics, and that includes our environment, our food, it could be food scarcity or abundance, whatever we might be dealing with, the environment in terms of pollution, traffic, it can be farm fields, it's whatever we're dealing with is what our body will respond to. The nutrition that we give our bodies is simply information, and that will allow us to turn on and silence certain genes. So when we're looking at that and we start piecing in elements such as the way we talk to ourselves and the way we think about ourselves, that also holds an incredibly powerful impact that will influence how we act, how we behave, how we think, our ability to have compassion towards ourselves and others. So in and out of that, that's really what will allow us to manifest our most autonomous and self-loving, responsible choices when we really allow ourselves to delve in deep with the inner child work. So it's really addressing emotional wounds that were present, that a child is not capable of dealing with, and having that space or giving that space as an adult to acknowledge and to look at that. So the workshops that I do, such as the Exonerate Your Inner Child, that one is not focused on a talk therapy. It's really focused on creating an action plan. So it's really fun. It's incredibly informative, and it's I love it. I absolutely love it because it yields results.
So how does the workshop get executed? Is it, there's a lot of private information, especially if you go into childhood, there's a lot of childhood wounds or traumas.
Yeah.
Is it a group therapy session?
It's in a group. It's not therapy per se because I'm there primarily providing information. Okay. So I'm the one doing most of the talking.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then individuals have the time to participate by writing. So there's a few writing exercises. And also at the end, there's an opportunity to share. And the reason there's that, it's to really respect and honor the role of a witness. So it's not to give feedback to anybody else. It's not to comment or to say, oh, that sounds great.
Or judge or anything.
Exactly. It's simply to witness.
Yes.
And part of that does allow for some accountability because it makes it more real. Mm-hmm. So that's a fantastic way to really be accountable to one's own self.
Mm-hmm. And the notion of being heard, I think that also makes it more impactful.
Yes.
I think that's really important too, because a lot of times we focus on the physicality of health, like the food, the toxins, the exercise part, but the emotional part has a very big impact as well. And as children, I think we may have lacked up to now, maybe we will progress and evolve, but up to now there seems to be a lack of focus on emotional health. A lot of parents would want their kids to do well in school and push them and compare and and then there's that quality of negating what the child really wants. Right. You're trying to mold them to sorry, you're trying to mold them to, I guess, what you want them to be,
Right.
or to fit in, or to do the right thing. And so I think it's hard to process, and I have witnessed a lot of people carry that burden throughout their entire life because they're never able to really deal with it. And they're also used to negating their own thoughts because their parents have negated them, and so they continue to do that for themselves.
Exactly. And the opening question that I present to those who come in to participate is, would you have had a happier childhood if your parents had loved themselves more? So it really comes back to that self-love, not selfless and so forth, but that self-love that allows us then to be wholly present and able to give wholeheartedly to others, rather than that sense of duty or obligation, or feeling compelled to push oneself or a child or whomever it might be, a partner, a friend, a company, whatever it might be, as a means of progressing, but at the cost of what?
Mm-hmm, right.
So.
Actually, I really like that question, but my only caveat, I guess, about that is how a person who doesn't understand what self-love is answer a question like that. Because if you ask someone, would you have had a happier childhood if your parents had loved themselves, and they don't understand what that means, they've never experienced that, I don't know how.
That's a beautiful question.
I would say yes if there was more love in the house, but if they love themselves, I guess by interpretation, in theory, there would be more love in the house too.
Yes, and that's a beautiful question, because it was the same one that came up during the workshop that I did this past week. And on one hand, I said, well, first of all, there is self-love because you yourself are here today in the workshop. Mm-hmm. So there is an awareness, there is a drive, there is a hope. And that in and of itself is very moving. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I'm working on is, because that particular workshop right now is an hour and a half, and I'm looking to hopefully make it into potentially a weekend, because that really allows to go in deep. And the purpose of the workshop is not to go to the deepest wounds. Mm-hmm. That's not what the purpose of it is. It's really to greet and acknowledge the inner child. So that's really the purpose, because everything that's there is already there. And there's no need to delve into something really, really deep and try to uproot it, because that's pointless. Mm-hmm. But it is simply to acknowledge and to greet, and then to start forming a relationship. Because to try and go in deep without proper preparation is futile, because it's just reaping pain upon pain. Mm-hmm. But the point of that is to become fully present as an adult and be able to give the affirmation and the confirmation to that inner child that everything will be okay. And it always is okay with 100% guarantee, I guess you could say, because that person is in the workshop at that moment completely safe. So whatever they went through as an inner child, they're able to relate that information and just do that inner work healing, because they know as an adult, because being here in the present relates that.
Right. Yeah. But without going too deep, how does one acknowledge or even sense the inner child? Because I personally have gone through exercises like from Louise Hay, the mirror work. And I find when I think or feel the emotions of the inner child, I often relate it back to certain memories. Yes. And they are painful, but but as you observe and you sit with that emotion, it teaches you something, and I think over time, it's very healing. Yes. To me, over the years, I noticed that it's a better method than to reject those emotions. It's really important to sort of embrace them and shine love on them. Yeah. So how would your approach be for those who are new to the idea of having an inner child to kind of form that relationship? So I'm looking at some of the pioneering work that has been done, which was really focused on a lot of talk therapy and so forth. The work of John Bradshaw, for example, is fantastic. And he has an acronym called Contaminate, where he really talks about
all the different ways that a wounded inner child can basically contaminate your present day life. So it's, for example, the C of contaminate stands for codependence. So it's that reliance upon others and seeing that there can be acting out, there can be narcissism. So all of the different negative attributes that can really haunt a person in their adulthood, stemming from their childhood, is really felt in the presence because it comes up in behaviors, it comes up in attitudes, it comes up in beliefs. So those are the aspects that are super present. And to really hear the inner child, it is exactly as you're saying, getting in touch with those feelings, allowing oneself to take the time to understand and sort through all the different elements to really embrace and care about what those feelings are. So a situation can be angering, but if the reaction is fury, then to understand the intensity of that emotion and why it might be so strong, and going back to the inner child and saying, I feel your anger, I accept it, and your anger is, it merits itself in this situation. You have a right to be angry. That's a beautiful thing. So it's looking into that, but also playing the adult role and in being, kind and loving, but yet having a gentle discipline to say, well, this is a proper way to express that anger, to give those adult tools and to have those listening skills for one's own self. That's really what it comes down to. So we can call it the inner child, but it's really having those active listening skills for being within one's own self. So meditation is integral in that process as well.
What about visualization?
Yeah, visualization, absolutely. So that's why at the workshop I ask participants to bring in a picture of themselves so that they can see themselves as a child and to relate back with their adult eyes, but to really connect. And I really rely on the work of Candace B. Pert a lot. She's, I would love to call her a mentor. She's a beautiful author who basically is at one of the pioneers of neuroscience. So to understand that every emotion felt has a physiological component in the body. So that's so integral to healing, and especially when it comes to emotions, because I find a lot of people are really fixated on outside sources of healing, and they want to know what supplements to take, what foods to take, anything to change how they're feeling inside, anything to take away the pain of what they're feeling. But that pain is there for a reason. And so yes, making adjustments can definitely help, but to really have long-term progressive healing, it has to involve the emotions. It has to involve how we move our bodies, how we think about ourselves, how we spend our money, how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves.
That's great.
Yes.
I'll put a link at the end of the video as well for that event.
Thank you.
No problem.